Simon's copyright lesson using the Assure model. Lesson overview. This lesson will begin with the bell ringer activity, directing students to Google Classroom with the discussion question, "What is this comic saying?" to get students thinking about ownership issues. Students will then take a pre-test covering their basic understandings of copyright rules and attitudes toward copyright. Then students will view the copyright and UPrezi individually, taking notes, structured or not, depending on their needs during the presentation. Afterwards, students will collaborate in groups on determining whether a real-life situation in which someone attempts to use copyrighted material is fair use or not, depending on the 4 factors. Students will present their scenario and their findings of fair use to the class. Afterwards, students will evaluate the lesson and take a post-test on basic understandings and attitudes about copyright. Now for the Assure model. Step 1, A, analyze learners. General characteristics of my student population include the students' age ranges from about 11 to 12, roughly even numbers of male and female students in each class, and the majority of students are of Hispanic heritage. Some students have IEPs for learning disabilities, 504 plans, and some are gifted and talented. Specific entry competencies. Many students are below grade level in reading. Students have competency in basic computer functions and experience with Google Education Suites. Learning styles. Many students are auditory and kinesthetic learners and need movement and lots of sound and input to learn best. S, state standards. The TEKS I'll be using are 5A. The student is expected to understand copyright principles, including current laws, fair use guidelines, Creative Commons, open source, and public domain. My district uses the 4 C's, and communication will be the focus of this lesson. And it lets students know how to best convey their ideas. And the use of copyrighted material in the conveyance of their ideas is specifically my focus during this lesson. Learning objective. The learner will demonstrate understanding of fair use by correctly identifying 3 of the 4 factors given an authentic copyright scenario. S. Select strategies and resources. Direct Teach will be used with the copyright and UPrezi. Student-centered activities will include discussion of copyright scenarios and presentation. And resources used are the Awkward Yeti copyright comic, copyright pretest, basic knowledge and attitudes, instructor created, copyright and UPrezi, instructor created, Common Sense education lesson, the 4 factors of fair use, and the fair and square worksheet. Instructor will create additional scenarios for all groups to present on based on the fair and square scenario presented by Common Sense education. U, utilize resources. Preview the resources. The resources are age appropriate and meet the requirements of my lesson. Prepare the resources. The copyright and UPrezi is done. Fair use cheat sheet with 4 factors will be at each table. The 4 factors worksheet will be teacher created, and fair use scenarios for each group will also be teacher created. The fair and square worksheet is taken from Common Sense education lessons. Prepare the environment. 4 Chromebooks at each table in the library with headphones for each student, as well as chart paper with markers to present on their scenarios. Prepare the learners. Bell ringer activity directing students to Google Classroom with discussion question, "What is this comic saying?" to get students thinking about ownership. Provide the experience. Direct Teach, collaboration, and presentation modes will be used. R, require learner participation. Learners will participate through collaboration and presentations. They will be using critical thinking and decision making during the process, and feedback will be given during the collaborative scenario activity. E, evaluate and revise. Students will have a rubric that they will be evaluated on during the scenario and presentation to determine if they understand and can use fair use appropriately. Students will evaluate the teacher's lesson and provide feedback to the teacher about future lessons, and they will have a pre and post test following their basic knowledge and attitudes about copyright.